The Lord is my shepherd. I want for nothing. Those are the first two lines of a song I sang when I was in voice lessons in college. And every time I read Psalm 23, it's the first thing that comes to my mind. Since Lori started us off with this tradition of singing at the start of sermons, I was like, maybe I'll give that a go, since it's going to run through my head this whole time anyway. Psalm 23 is one of those passages that just sticks around, right? It has an amazing amount of endurance and popularity to it. Something about the image of the shepherd, or something about walking through a dark valley, just seems to really connect with us. We memorize it maybe in vacation Bible school, like on our first day. And it comes to us in all sorts of places where we can think about this verse. I thought about it this week on Tuesday when the sun came out, and I went out to mow my lawn for the first time of the year. And I stepped into the sunlight, and it just hit me, and I was like, oh, this feels good. And all of a sudden, I was like, wow, winter felt like a dark valley this year, right? Like, we have all sorts of those connections. And I was thinking about this psalm, and it's interesting. It's a psalm written by David. David, who as a little boy was a shepherd out in the field, watching over the sheep that belonged to his family. And he's writing the psalm about a shepherd. In fact, shepherd is one of the most commonly used metaphors, images for God or for Jesus throughout the whole Bible. There are entire books written to try to explain to people what that means, because, well, when was the last time we talked to a shepherd? I mean, seriously, is there anyone in this room, by raise of hand, who's spoken to a shepherd in the last year? I'm impressed, sir. In New Zealand, a shepherd in New Zealand. You know, I was thinking of asking that question. I was like, someone's going to raise their hand. We've got just enough folks from the Midwest and whatnot that travel. We're going to find someone who's talked to a shepherd. That's funny. You know, if you're like me, though, I think that outside of what I've read in the Bible, something like 99% of what I know about shepherds comes from Bo Peep from Toy Story, right? Like, you wear the dress, and there's like the crook. That's about all I know. But when I engage with the Bible passage, one thing that I'm always trying to do is I'm always trying to really put myself into the story, into the shoes of the people in the story. Because I remember that these are stories written by real people. They're written for real people. And oftentimes the stories in our Bible are written about real people too. And those real people have real emotions, real experiences. They have 5 senses just like I do. And when I find that I can put myself in their place, when I can try to inject myself into their spot in the story, I start to see things in a whole new way. And as I was doing that this week and going about my week, I came kind of face to face with something that I didn't expect to come up with, which is that David, the author of this psalm, David's sky was different than mine. David's sky is different than mine. And I don't mean because, you know, however many thousands of years ago David lived, the stars were probably in some sort of different pattern, or the universe was slightly different, so the stars, that's not what I mean. And I don't mean that I live in the Pacific Northwest in North America, whereas David lived in the Middle East. I'll tell you what I mean. I went to a show on Tuesday night with our high school youth, and the show was called Say Yes, A Liturgy of Never Giving Up on Yourself. It's put on by a local artist named Scott Erickson. And in the show, Scott tells the story of when he and his wife went camping. And they spent one night on their camping trip in Craters of the Moon Park in southeastern Idaho. It's one of the least light-polluted places on Earth. We've got a couple people nodding their heads, maybe some visitors, people have been there before. So as they pulled in for their camping trip, the person who checked them in basically said, hey, it's a clear night. Stars are out. You're going to want to stay up. And they were like, great. And as they're walking to their tent, someone's like, hey, we got our fire over here. Stars are going to be out tonight. You're going to want to stay up for that. And they're like, great. And then they fell asleep. But in the middle of the night, they woke up, and they unzipped their tent, and they stepped out. And it was the most amazing sky they'd ever seen. Sounds like a couple people in this room might have gotten to see that before. I wanted to show you the picture that he showed me of this amazing sky, how breathtaking it was. But I actually ran into a little problem, which is that there's actually too much light in this room for me to either on a TV screen or a projector try to show you that. So if you have your cell phone, you are welcome to Google right now, craters of the lake stars, or if you want to use your imagination, you can close your eyes with me and I'll try to paint you a quick picture. If you close your eyes, just start with the most beautiful sky you can imagine. Not Portland, go far from Portland. Go far from the city. We need more stars than that. Picture the most beautiful sky. For me, it is the sky on a fishing trip in northern Nevada with my dad when I was in high school. So now take the black canvas that is the night, the opaque black canvas, and turn it just a deep blue and give it some depth, give it some layers. It's not just flat black. It has blue, it has some turquoise, it has different colors kind of mixing in and blending. It's got a range of layers in it. And now take all the spaces in between every star that you see and put more stars there. And now take the spaces in between those stars and put more stars there. And now running in between or behind the whole thing, stretching the whole sky, is the Milky Way galaxy. And it looks like little clouds streaking through the sky, but there's colors mixed in of purple and green and yellow. And it just spans across the whole thing. You can open your eyes. It's even a little hard to imagine, yeah? But that's probably the sky that was over David every night when he was out there in the fields. That's not my sky. That's not what I get to see. And to me, this is impactful to me in a couple different ways. One, as someone who spends a great deal of his time studying ancient people and ancient religions, how could they not be fascinated by the cosmos? Right? When that is your sky that you go to sleep under every night, it's no wonder that they spent decades and millennia, generation after generation, creating stories and passing them down to try to explain what's going on up there. It's no wonder that there's all these different gods and all these different creatures and all these different battles taking place. You can see the cosmic battlefield laid out above you every night when you lay your head back. It's no wonder. And then, the other way it strikes me is I get a little jealous and I get a little sad that I don't get to see that every night. Because light pollution steals the grandness of the stars from us. And in the show on Tuesday, when Scott was telling us the story and showing us the picture of the stars, it was used as a metaphor which came with this lesson. The lesson is, familiarity kills wonder. Familiarity kills wonder. It's like we have so many artificial lights, street lights, porch lights, spotlights, billboards, everything that we don't even need the stars anymore. We don't need them to light up the night sky. And all of a sudden we lose out on that wonder. It's that same question that kind of comes into your head when your friend tells you that they're thinking about making their hobby their job, and you're like, cool. Is it still going to be as great for you, though? Like, are you still going to love it as much if it's your thing, if you have to do it every single day, if your livelihood is dependent on it? Is it still going to have that same wonder to it? You know that question that comes in your head? Or like, what about the internet? Our age today, we have so much data accessible to us at any point ever that we just can be so consumed by it, we forget about the mystery behind our very existence. Or what about religion? In a book I'm reading with the high school students, the author posed the scenario of a young girl who grows up and goes to Catholic school every day, and then she goes to church on Sundays, and then in the weeknights, 2 or 3 times, she does the youth events. And by the time that she's ready to graduate high school, it's been so much that she's desensitized, she's weary, she's tired, even bored of God. What about people who are married? What about people who have been together with someone for a very long time, and you get to know them so well, and all of a sudden you start to go, man, nothing they say can surprise me anymore. Every day with them is the same, and you start to get a little bored. That happens. These are all places where familiarity is killing wonder. I wonder where that can happen to us. Can we be so used to practicing like religion, for example, with the same rituals done the same way, the same time of the week, that we end up missing the grandness, the deep, deep ocean that is spirituality? Familiarity kills wonder. If that's true, How then do we become more wonderful? Erickson answered this question for us in the show on Tuesday night. He said, the doorway to wonder is unknowing. The doorway to wonder is unknowing. And unknowing in this case is a verb. It's the anti to familiarity. It's the opposite. If familiarity is about routine, about assumptions, about accepting the narratives that we already believe about the world around us, then unknowing is questioning and challenging those assumptions, narratives, and routines. It's about creating the space to experience something as new for a second time. It's like when you've seen a movie and you know where the big twist ending is, and then you're watching it with a friend, and you're trying not to spoil anything, but also now you know what's coming, and just because you know what's coming, you automatically see a next layer to the depth of the movie. You see the things they're setting up, the things that they're putting in there, you go, oh, they did that. I didn't even see that they did that, but it's all built up for your experience. You've already seen the movie, but now you're seeing it new for a second time. You've unknown it in that way. Let's go back to the example of someone who's lived with their spouse for years and years and is getting bored. Have you ever heard the advice, you should date your spouse? Yeah, comment, sounds like good advice by that response. What's that but unknowing? It's saying, where is the rut? What are we stuck in? What does every single day look like? And then how can we break out of it? Date your spouse might mean, oh, I should pick up some flowers on the way home. It might mean, let's go to that place that we used to go to. It might be, remember when we had so much fun doing that together? Let's go do that thing again. When you're in the process of unknowing, you can ask some crucial questions too that can be helpful. Questions like, what don't I know? Visit your world as if you're a visitor in it, as if you don't know everything that's going on. Ask those questions like, what if? What if we? What if I could be? You can ask all sorts of questions like that, and it helps us step outside of the sense of familiarity, and then all of a sudden we discover a sense of wonder. In the show, Scott used an excellent metaphor for this. He said, what if, we'll just use this church building, what if when the sanctuary was being built, there was a builder who had a heartbreak. Maybe someone he loved died during the building. And in the wall somewhere, he had penned the most beautiful love poem known to mankind. And it's on a piece of paper folded up somewhere behind a sheet of drywall in here. The most beautiful poem ever. Probably not, but we don't know. When you open yourself up to I don't knows, to what ifs, what don't I know, and visit your world as a visitor, we start to reimagine this sense of wonder. I've been thinking about this all in the span of our church, and like Terry mentioned, our transitional stage that we're in. I think we're doing a lot of unknowing already. And I think some of it we've done of our own accord, and some of it has kind of come to us, right? I mean, when you lose leadership, when you lose a pastor like Pastor Mark, who'd been here for so long, some unknowing automatically becomes from that. And I think that we've also leaned into it with the Horizon process, with the transition team we now have that's going to lead us on and toward calling our next pastor. Those are intentional processes of unknowing. So I wonder if what might be in here for us is a bit of a barometer, even. What if wonder was our measuring stick as we go through this process? How are we doing? Are we stepping into wonder together? Are we doing that work? Because just like David, how could he not be amazed by the stars up above him? How could we not be amazed? How could we not be fascinated? How could we not be in awe at what God is doing in the world around us? And this process can be scary. The process of unknowing can feel sometimes like a lot of little deaths. Like Terry mentioned, change is tough. But this is where we go back to David, the boy shepherd, who reminds us that we also have a shepherd. And David says, the job of our shepherd is to lead us to the waters that refresh our soul and our sense of wonder. Our shepherd leads us to the green pastures where there is new, fresh sustenance awaiting us. And when the journey along the way feels scary or difficult, we can know that we're not walking alone. Thy rod and staff are with me, and they they shall comfort me.